Hey everybody, welcome to The Social Life. My name is Deanna Miller and I am one of the co-founders of Stark Social Media Agency. We are bringing you a weekly podcast of all the cool stuff that is in our brains. With me today and every day is my co-founder, Nathan Imhoff.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
So today we are tackling a really tough subject, and I know it's only our second podcast, but we figured we would just dive into the deep end. SEO. Search engine optimization. It's something that for me was always this like big elusive, like off in the corner that I always, before you and I partnered up, I would always outsource to clients when they would ask for it. Like I have they'll find you an SEO person to help you because I have no idea. You know, it's not just keywords on a page. It's not just, capturing your audience and then hoping that they stay. It's kind of one of the metaphors that I use for our clients is it's kind of like a plant. You have to make sure that it's got the right soil and nutrients, and then you have to nurture it and make sure that it grows and it reaches its full potential.
Watering it more isn't going to help it grow faster.
Right. So there's actually a lot that goes into good SEO.
Right.
Okay. So we talked about it. We came up with a bunch of stuff. You have this like giant list of things that we needed to talk about today.
Felt like I did. I was pretty rough the first show.
Yeah. Little bit.
You were awesome.
Little bit. I'm always awesome.
But I was rough.
That's just how it is.
Audio guy agrees.
Audio guy agrees.
We got audio guy donuts. He's happy.
We got audio guru. He wants to be the audio guru.
Oh, guru. Right.
He's okay with it, even though it makes you cringe a little bit. Yeah. So we got him donuts. They're from Whole Foods, so it's okay. It's healthy.
They have them there.
And I'm really excited. So we got Whole Foods donuts. We have creepy rabbit wine with us today. And we're going to start with talking about search engine optimization. It's a really big topic for anybody who designs websites like we do. And really, any of these tips, feel free to share them with your clients. Feel free to share them with your team. So we're going to start with things to stop working on. Things that are just not going to help.
Waste of time. Your
website. You're basically throwing things out into the universe that are not helpful. So go ahead and kick that off, and then I'll ask questions like a regular person might.
Number one is keyword jamming. Everyone thinks, hey, if I focus on these certain words that I'm looking for instance, real estate or, in our case, social media or whatever the word is, if I just jam these words in wherever I can fit them, this is going to get me better results.
Right.
That not only doesn't work, but it can hurt you in the end.
So where might people like jam these keywords? Because I know now that I'm like a junior SEO. I'm like a junior level SEO person. Where might people jam these keywords that's not helpful?
A lot of times people try to put them in the titles. They try to put them in the meta descriptions, alt tags and images or links. Well, you can't put alt tags and links, but in title tags.
Okay.
A lot of times they'll take keyword and if you get old school SEO people, usually their websites you can spot them because they're usually awful looking because they don't care about how it looks. It's all about if the search engine works, or the search engine gets it. But they'll have your headlines in HTML code. You have your P tags, which is where your regular text goes, and then you have headlines. And usually those are H1, H2, H3, all the way down to
This is all
6,
Chinese
7, 8.
to most people.
Anyways.
He's talking about headings. So like when you develop a page on a website or a blog, for those of you who are just strictly bloggers, if you're in WordPress, for example, like I'm WordPress friendly, the H1, the H2, those are headings.
Correct.
On your page.
Yeah. Typically, the title of the blog would be in H1, so that would be the number one headline. And then if you had, say, various headlines under or sectioned off, it would be headline 2, headline 3, 4, 5, down. And it used to be that those would be ranked according to importance. So what people would do is make sure that keyword that they were focused on was in every single headline, even if it was awkward and in this sentence structure or grammatically. Don't do that.
Because Google's gotten smarter.
Real smart.
They've gotten super smart. Like you were showing me other tools today about like grammar. And
It literally reads your stuff and it'll say, this is awkward.
and it's scary. It's scary how smart Google has gotten.
I told you, all-seeing eye of God.
It really is.
I'm frightened. They could blackmail us all.
I don't know that we should do a podcast and say Google. Maybe we call it just G-Man or something like that.
Safe word for Google.
We need to say
Don't hurt us.
Don't hurt us. Okay, so what other tips about keyword jamming that people? What other things that people do that is just like, knock it off your list, don't do it anymore?
Well, write about the keyword.
Right.
Don't just jam the keyword in your text. Don't look for like, I can put, if the keyword was real estate, I can put real estate in every sentence, for the next 10 sentences. It'll just be awkwardly hard to read copy because Google will know.
Right. So if I write the write-up for this podcast and I just say podcast in every sentence, that's a bad thing.
That would be a very bad thing.
That would be G-Man. G-Man would say that's not okay. And what that they penalize your website for that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So your ranking, your score suffers.
Right.
So there's a lot of tools and things online that people can use, apps that they can download to help them figure out how well their page is performing, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you could use Google Analytics itself, and then there's various other tools on the internet that you could use to see how you are ranking for certain words.
Sure. And if you need tips or information, we're always happy to share. You can just email us, hello@starksocial.com. So there's a lot of things that people are doing that, we can just kind of roll into the next thing that you have on your list in terms of content.
Duplicate page content.
Oh, it's a killer. I see that so much.
Well, it's connected to the keyword problem because it's like the more I say it, the more Google's going to higher they're going to rank me, and that's just not the case. Just like if somebody just kept saying the same thing to you, it would become more annoying. Their algorithm is getting smarter and smarter. That the more you're saying something, the less valuable they view your content.
Right. And so one of the things that I've actually seen on a few websites that we've worked on maximizing SEO is taking a page, so you've got a page, and then duplicating it, but not necessarily adding it to the menu structure.
Right.
So it's not something that like you can click on service offerings and there's 10 different pages, but it's duplicated and people think that that's going to help their SEO.
That's insanity.
Right?
I think so.
You've taught me better. I've learned better. So original content on each page, each blog post is better than copying and pasting 5 paragraphs or 2 paragraphs and changing 2 or 3 words.
I don't think I could say it enough. Cut the gimmicks.
Cut the gimmicks. No.
So, but one of the other things you got to worry about, not just the content of your page. Don't think you're going to fool Google by saying, oh, I'm really focused on real estate, or I'm really focused on this, and I'm going to name every city. Like, we're in an area that's called Santa Clarita Valley, but inside that are small communities. If I was being a wise guy, I'd think, oh, okay, I'm going to name off, I'm trying to land some web design business here, so I'm going to put Valencia Web Design, and I'm going to put a page and have Valencia Web Design, and then I'm going to duplicate that, and then I'm going to put another town called Newhall Web Design, and all the other towns. And it's exact same page, except I've taken out one word and exchanged it.
So Google sees that and goes, these shysters are trying
shenanigans.
They're trying to pull some shenanigans on us, and we're going to drop their ranking.
Like a rock. And
when it comes to organic Google search, they're not going to be anywhere on the first page.
Probably not.
Yeah.
You can get penalized, and believe me, they have no qualms with penalizing companies. Southwest has been penalized. BMW got banned from Google for a time, like a decade ago.
See, it's so funny to me because I had no idea until we started working together how serious this Google business was.
They don't play, man.
I was like, oh, yeah, you do all these things and it's cool. And this guy says that. And then we started working together and developed a strategy for our clients that we do web design and social media for. And it's just, it blows my mind every time something changes.
Well, you were wowed with how we got to the top. It took us a little while.
It took us a little while.
But we were on first page.
First page.
In Los Angeles, of all markets.
In Los Angeles.
For social media agency.
Big market. Big.
She was like, oh, I guess you do know what you're doing.
Well, because we have a friend of ours who works for a major organization, and we're like 3 below them. So that was kind of exciting. A little bit. So let's move on the list. So along with avoiding duplicate page content, you have on your list excessive internal linking. What is that?
So back in the day, you used to be able to link. You would link page to page. So every time you put, say we're going back to our business, we're talking about web design and social media. Every time you referenced in a blog post or in a page a certain word, you would connect to a page inside your own website. So basically, you have a page that's full of links to pages in your website, which is fine. It's totally fine if you need to do that, if it makes sense. Like, hey, you're writing a blog and you're saying, hey, this other blog that I wrote also goes into more in depth. Like, that's for the user.
Mm-hmm.
That's
right.
respected.
If you're like writing a blog post, it's here's all of the things that we do that are amazing, and here's where you can find out more.
Right. If you go to a blog post and it has 10 links, they're all linked inside the website, and this is a constant thing on your website, you're gonna get dinged for that. And usually these are if you have a person that's trying to do that, I would not work with them. I would say thanks for your service.
So it's basically like, for example, I was working with a client on restructuring their blog, and they had a lot of buttons in the blog posts, each blog post, that went to their contact us.
Okay.
So what we discovered after we ran the report was they needed to not just have the contact us be a button that goes or a link that goes to their stuff, but add other external links.
Right.
So that helped them. And we did that successfully, and that was a fun project to work on. So next on your list, putting a list of keywords in the page title. What is that?
Well, I think that really goes back to the keyword jamming, but I've seen it a bunch of times where you have a title, and it will say the title, and then there'll just be a bunch of words jammed after it.
Right.
So it's more or less just re-emphasizing, don't put your keywords inside your title.
So I think that's an important point to make, is we go back to the keyword jamming, but also that you need to pay attention to what changes with Google and what's acceptable.
Right.
Because I think 5 or 6 years ago, that was a tip.
Right.
Make sure your keywords are in your title.
Yeah, you want to have a focused word. You want to have a keyword that you're working on for that. So, for instance, if you have a page and it's like we're emphasizing for this, in our case, social media or web design or SEO, that would be the focus word, and we use that for various tools, and we make sure that it is in the headline, but we don't jam a bunch of other words that are like it or things that don't make sense in terms of how the user perceives it. Just putting a bunch of words, because again, everything's being analyzed grammatically now. So just slamming a bunch of words in there, it's gibberish. It
right.
comes up.
So
it comes up huge thumbs down from Google, and they're like, we're not going to send our clients, who are the web searchers, to a website that's just got a bunch of words that are jammed on a page. They want them to have good, well-written websites that work on multiple devices. That's what they're looking for.
That totally makes sense. What do you have next on your list?
Keyword-heavy URL naming. So
a URL is what? Explain it first, because a lot of people don't know.
Okay, so URL is a fancy word for your web address. If it's business.com, then the URL would be business.com, and so then from there I was
expecting a much more technical explanation. It's okay.
I'm getting there. Relax.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so then that's the homepage, and then after that you would click a button, and it would be business.com/contact page or contact us.
All right, I'm okay with that explanation.
So, well, thanks. I've met your approval.
It doesn't happen often, so.
Well, so a lot of people will make a keyword-heavy URL, so it's just this long word. I mean, if it fits, fine. Like with blogs, you have a long title. Sometimes that works, but excessively long URLs with a bunch of words in it.
So you really need to think about your branding when you're putting together your URL versus like
people are judging you.
socialmediamanagement.com, blah 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 blah. It needs to be something that's branded appropriately for your business and doesn't necessarily use those keywords like social media or whatever. You really need to be you need to be relatable in terms of your brand.
Right. If we were starksocial.com / social media dash Facebook dash Twitter dash LinkedIn dash.
Right. So that's not helpful.
No.
Nobody's excited about that.
No. Well, it doesn't help you with the user, and Google's like, yeah, all right.
Okay. So
Maybe
Google doesn't get it.
Your website's drunk.
So then we just don't want to use it, and nobody wants drunk websites.
Drunk
Apparently.
websites. No.
Drunk websites are bad. All right. Let's move to your last point on the list before we have to go to break.
Well, overall, you got to build your website, and your website needs to be built for people and not search engines. That's what really it comes down to. Well-written content, navigations that make sense, URLs that make sense, and your website needs to be compliant. You can go actually to starksocial.com / W3C. It will take you to a validator. You can put your website in. We didn't design this, obviously. It's the
What? We didn't design this?
Yeah, it's W3C is a validator that makes sure that your website meets compliant. It's compliant with design.
Oh, that's so cool.
So it works on multiple platforms.
I'm
but
excited
just
about this.
just for the sake of somebody listening, it's starksocial.com / W3C. It will redirect you to the validator. You can put in your website. You can find out, if don't freak out if it says, oh, you got 20 issues. That's okay. You ideally you want it to 0, but nobody's perfect. But if it says like, hey, you got 200 issues, probably should do something about that.
Right. Like we ran a scan on a client's website and there was like over 4,000. We didn't do the website, by the way. It wasn't our website.
Well,
we're just
that's
doing
different.
The marketing strategy.
That's our SEO scan we did.
Okay.
And it was a nightmare. But that brings me to the next thing. You want your website to be fast. You want it to site optimize, and you can go to another tool. We don't own the tool, but for the sake of the podcast, it's starksocial.com / ST. This will bring you to pingdom.com and let you put in your website and see where you're ranking among other websites. You want your website to be fast, and there's tips, there's things you can do to make your website fast, optimized, that it works on multiple devices. You got to remember these days, people are paying for data on their phones. They're accessing your phones, so you sort of want to be respectful, not have bloated images that are 4 megabytes when they only need to be
totally.
1/10
If
of
a
that.
site doesn't load fast, I don't know, click away.
It's huge.
Get out of town.
It's very underrated. And then, you know what? Stark Social does we actually can do a site audit for you. We do it for free. You just need to go to starksocial.com / site audit, and we'll do a free site analysis for you. We'll tell you.
That's exciting. These are all things I'm learning about right now.
I know. I did all this while
I've got my head in the social media sand, so apparently I didn't know we do all this stuff. So I'm excited. Yay!
Yes.
More things for our clients. So you really want to make sure that your websites are ready for the search engines. I know that most of us are like Google, but there's still other ones. Yahoo and Bing still exist.
Yes.
So we need to make sure that we're paying attention to those, that your website is fast, that it's got validation, that you've done a site audit to make sure you know where the issues are. That's really, really important. And these are all things that 5 years ago I would have been like, what?
Well, they just become more and more important as
But I
time
have
just went on.
keywords on my page, and they're cool, right? I have a blog. That's good, right? So we have a lot of information to share on our website. If you haven't yet checked it out, starksocial.com is the best place to find information on our blog. If you have not yet followed us on YouTube, just search Stark Social. Also, we are on Instagram and Twitter at Stark Social, and Facebook, www.facebook.com/StarkSocial. If you have any questions that you want us to make sure that we feature in any section of the podcast or on our blogs, make sure that you send those to hello@starksocial.com. We are going to be back very, very soon with The Social Life, and we hope that you'll join us for the second half of things that you should be focusing on for your search engine optimization campaign. We're very excited. Nathan and I will be right back.
Social Media Agency is a boutique marketing firm specializing in custom solutions that are a cut above the rest. With a mission to strictly do good work, the Stark team provides the best product possible every single time. Whether you need a website upgrade, social marketing strategy, or branding design, Stark Social has the solution for success.
Welcome back to the second part of our fabulous podcast, The Social Life. Today we're talking about search engine optimization and how you can take advantage of some fairly easy to accomplish things. In our first section, we talked about the things that you should stop working on. A lot of the things had to do with keyword jamming and making sure that you're providing original content for your users to find. And that also plays into the Google aspect of the things that you need to focus on, because that algorithm has become like seriously crazy.
I thought you called it G-Man.
G-Man. I think we should do like a G-Man meme for our Facebook page.
I think
that would be fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't do those things. That would be Nathan. But anyway, Nathan Imhoff is here with me. He is my co-founder. We are Stark Social Media Agency. For those of you that aren't familiar, you can find more information about us at starksocial.com. And in the second portion of today's podcast, we want to talk about the things that you need to focus on. So once you've gotten rid of all of those things on your checklist that don't do anyone any darn good, we've got a few things that we want to talk about that you can do on a regular basis that will increase your viability. So I'm going to go ahead and just hand it over to you because...
Okay, so the first part we talked about things that people waste their time on or even do that could actually hurt them. So we want to talk about what you should actually be doing. And the first part's going to be a little bit technical, so probably going to need your help to make sure that everybody understands what we're talking about. But you want to invest. Number one, you want to invest in an SEO-friendly web architecture. So no matter what platform your website's built on, usually there are plugins or there are tools that are going to help you with things that are like things that you need to focus on, like schema. It's schema.org. You can learn more about that, but
we're going to put this on the blog, by the way. So if that just went over your head like it did mine,
right?
It'll be on the blog.
It's important, but people don't. It's not as what would you say? Oh, it's not as hyped.
It's not as
kind of flies under the radar, but it's very important.
It's one of those things that I think people like me, that when like 5 or 6 years ago, before you and I started working together on projects, I went, hey, SEO person, do this.
Right.
Because I had there's all these words and terms and things. And if somebody had said schema to me, I probably would have just glazed over and passed out.
Right. So schema basically tells a search engine what your data means, not just what it says. It takes the guesswork out of the data that you're trying to get across to the search engines.
Right.
So, for an example, let's say you're a restaurant. Schema would be something would tell the search engines, okay, this is my website. This is my official website. This is my official phone number. This is my opening hours. This is my price range. This is what the payments we receive, etc. I mean, it goes on. It's all kinds of information that you can get. And what that does, doing it properly, it helps you play well with the search engines as well as other web applications. So things like in the case of Yelp or WP, Yellow Page. And we're not a big Yelp fan. Yeah, they went to court to basically say...
Whole other podcast. Let's just focus. Whole other podcast.
We'll get you next time, Yelp.
We'll do a Yelp podcast.
But yeah, schema is something that you need to focus on, depending on your business.
So it's kind of the nuts and bolts of who you are, where you are, and what you do.
Right. So think about it as a web form, but it's very nerdy in code.
Nerdy in code.
Yes.
That's kind of...
Usually you get you can go and do it manually, but if you're listening to this, you're probably not the type of person who does things manually.
Not me.
You just need to...
I'm
it's
sitting
something
here. Sorry.
At least you know to ask the questions.
I didn't, though, until I started taking trainings. Trainings are the funny thing is for me is that when I started to educate myself was when we started to have people ask us the hard questions.
Right.
And that was when I started to sit down and actually take the webinars and the trainings and Google things and YouTube things and try and figure things out. But I think you raised some really good points about doing things properly so that you're being seen everywhere that you need to be.
Well, your website doesn't just, not only are you doing your social media, if you're doing it correctly, to point people to your website, but you want your website to interact with your social media. So that's where things like schema come into effect.
Absolutely.
When you share that, nobody's going to know how you want the title to come across. No one's going to know what image you want it to share. You have to make sure that you purposely do that and think of these things and have people that help you with that.
Right. And I think that rolls into your number 2 on your list of things to focus on for search engine optimization. You want to make sure that you have descriptive titles that take into account social shareability and, of course, your branding.
Right.
So that's really important. And for me, as somebody who shares a lot of content from other websites for social media, if for example, if your title is so long,
that it goes off and gives you those little dots.
It gives you the dots.
Yeah.
I tend to shy away from sharing those things.
Right.
Because the user who's coming to, let's say one of our clients and our buddies, Mike Bjorkman, his HomeSmart Facebook page, if they're coming to that and all they see is the best part of real estate is ...
Right.
That's not helpful to anyone.
Yeah, that doesn't make it, the mystery doesn't add to the, we got too many things. We got cat videos to watch.
I like puppy videos.
Puppy videos. We got all kinds of things to watch. We don't need the mystery.
But that also goes into what you just mentioned about images, right? Because it's really important if you're putting together a website page or a social media or a blog post. If I'm going to share it on social media, I want a cool picture.
Yeah, you want your presentation correct. You don't want it to go. If you don't do it on purpose, something like Twitter or Facebook, when you share it, it's going to give you, the average user, it's just going to pick the first image that it finds on the website, which might not be the image you want it to share.
Right. And a lot of times when I go to different blogs or websites, what I end up getting is either I have to add a picture, I have to add an image. It tells me like there's no image there at all that's been added, which is usually because of the amount of time that I have, I'm going to just go, I'll look for something else. But if your image isn't really illustrating your point in your page or your blog post, then you're not giving your user, the people who are a part of your audience, a really clear, defined way to understand what you're saying. Right.
Well, your titles and headlines are very important. I mean, at this point, there's people that share articles and they don't even read it anymore. They go completely off the title.
Oh my gosh! No,
it's like a whole epidemic now.
It was, I haven't had that happen in a long time. But when I first got started, I would just go, this is a reliable source. It's Inc.com or Entrepreneur or, Harvard Business Journal. So clearly it must be cool. And I would share stuff blindly. And then, oh my gosh, it's a whole other opinion than I thought it was because the title was misleading.
Right.
And that brings us into our next point. When we're talking about things to focus on for SEO, you want to write your content on your blogs, on your pages for the user.
Right.
Not for the search engine. Because that ends up falling flat, right?
Exactly.
So when we're writing content, and this is something I'm just going to spout off about for a little bit. When you're writing your content for your blog or you're putting together your page for your website, you really want to take advantage of any type of keyword tools that you can use and figure out what the optimum keyword is. And then from there, you want to make sure that you're writing content that the user is going to find interesting and attractive, and they're going to sit there and they're going to read it.
Well, that goes back to what I was saying before. Write about the keyword. Don't try to put the keyword in there.
Because when you're looking at your Google Analytics every couple weeks or every week to see what your bounce rate is, people don't realize the content on the page ends up either being attractive or unattractive.
Right.
And then they're going to click away.
Click away.
And
they're gone forever.
Forever and ever and ever. So that's really important to think about. When I'm putting together a blog post for a client, and I do a few, I don't do a lot, but when I do put together a blog post for a client, I'm looking for interesting content that is going to be current to the topic, whoever the specific client is. If it's for us, I mean, for social media and web design and marketing, we have a revolving door of information. There's always stuff to write about.
It's always changing.
But if you're a niche market, like you're a real estate agent, you're a local business, for example, a restaurant, maybe you're blogging about things that are happening in your community, you're a nonprofit organization,
right,
and you're blogging about things that are important to whatever charity it is that you're trying to raise funds for. You want to make sure that you're not just listing details. You want to give people something exciting to read about.
Right.
So that's where calls to action come into place as well.
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things that has become ridiculously important on websites is a call to action. People, our users,
they need to be told what to do.
They want to know.
They're sheep. They're sheeple.
I'm not going to say that is okay because I'm offended by the sheeple remark.
Are you a fan of the sheep? I thought you liked pigs.
But pigs are not sheep.
I know, but why would you be offended if I offended sheep?
I'm just going to move away from that because we're talking farm animals and that can get dangerous. So you want to make sure that you have a call to action in your meta description, right?
Yeah.
Where does your meta description appear? Why is that important?
Okay, so the meta description, if you go to Google and you type in something, you see the title of the page, which you can control, and then you see a small excerpt of text.
Right.
That's the meta description. That's in the header. When we talked about what not to do, you don't jam a bunch of keywords that you want to rank high on into that. What you need to do is make that section, because that's the first thing that someone's going to see before they click, have calls to action, have exciting headlines or exciting excerpt of text that brings people in, makes people want to.
So like when I'm Googling awesome social media tools,
right?
If it's jammed with keywords, that meta description,
you're probably not going to see it because it's on page 10.
Deanna from Stark Social isn't going to click on your stuff.
There you go.
Because it's on page 10.
No. Who goes to page 10?
Well,
audio guy, you go to page 10? He says no.
Audio guy made
he's got better things to do.
Funny face. He goes to 2 max.
2 max.
Audio Guru. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, Guru.
Don't be rude to him. He gave himself a really cool title. So Audio Guru says he goes to page 2. So when you're using a call to action, it's really important. One of the things that I tend to do when I'm putting together, and I can speak to this because I do blog posts and content creation for various website pages and blogs. What you want to make sure is that your call to action makes sense for your user. So it's really important for you to examine your audience and know who they are.
Correct.
What is their behaviors? What kinds of things are they looking for? When they come to your site, what are they looking to accomplish? And that's one of the things that when we started putting together the new Stark Social site that we just launched, that included web design because it didn't before and people kept asking for it. And
right.
we're like, we do it. It's just not on the website. So if you have a website that doesn't include all your services, that's probably another tip.
That's a whole other show of why we do it,
but it's not on the website.
Right.
But when you're putting together a website, you want to make sure that you have a call to action that takes your clients or your users or your potential leads to some place where you can capture their data and information. You want to get those emails. You want to get their needs and their wants so that you can then provide them with content and information that provides them with a service and draws them in so that they become a client and they're a paid client and they're a part of your sales funnel. So that's really important. One of the things that is a basic call to action is subscribe to our newsletter.
Right.
That's a basic call to action that you can implement on a website or a blog. Subscribe to a newsletter.
Exactly.
There's a bunch of newsletter tools out there that you can use. If you're doing an email drip marketing campaign, we have a few that we can suggest. If you want to ask us, we can definitely provide those to you. But it's really important to make sure that you're taking potential leads and clients someplace that they're going to feel like they're a part of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like we consider all of our clients a part of the Stark Social family. So whenever they need or want something, we're definitely there to help them. So let's move on to the next thing on the list. And that's something that I think is like a little bit.
Got a little technical for you?
Yeah, it's too much
All right,
for me.
so
You go with it.
You got to consider UI, UX, and accessibility as primary aspects when building your site and pages. What that means is it needs to be user-friendly for the most part.
Oh, is that what that
It's
means?
a user experience, the user interface.
I'm sorry.
That's what
that
UI
went
means.
way over my head.
You make something complicated, people give up.
Yeah.
Audio Guru, he leaves the website.
Like, he's
confused.
asleep now.
He's out.
He's
out.
asleep. He's passed out. We don't even know what happened to him.
He doesn't have time for that. He's going to take one look at it and go, either works or it doesn't. I'm out.
Right. And so then making it user-friendly then falls into you need to get those social badges on your site so people can share your content easily.
Yes.
And there's a lot of applications within, for example, WordPress that you can Google, you can search and find, or you can Google stuff and figure that out. But it's really important if you're having your website designed that you have social badges. So if you're working with a company that's not us, that's okay. You can make sure that you ask them for social badges. And then the other thing that we're working on to add to our site is case studies.
Case studies.
Case studies and proof that what you're doing is awesome.
Right.
And important, and that you're making a difference in your current clients. Credibility. That's really important. And, we actually are really excited to add those to our site. So keep an eye on starksocial.com to make sure that you're keeping up to date with all of our case studies, customer experience. Another cool thing is video testimonials.
Yep.
So if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, I'm adding a lot of quick tips and information on a weekly basis. So you want to go to YouTube and search Stark Social Media, and we will pop up and you will subscribe, and we will continue to give you free fun information. If you haven't yet followed us on Facebook, go to facebook.com/StarkSocial.
But they get to hear our other clients, our small little parrotlets tweet.
Right. If
Literally
you're
their
listening to
tweet.
the quick tips, we have a dog and parrotlets, and
Yeah, you usually do these at home.
yeah,
so
the
not in
gecko.
the
The
office.
gecko doesn't say much, but he's there. But
You-
so
listen close so you can hear them tweet.
you can hear them tweet, and they're professional tweeters.
They're professional
I take a
tweeters.
lot of tips from them. If you haven't yet followed us on Instagram and Twitter, we're at Stark Social. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about this podcast, please go to starksocial.com and send us a note on the Contact Us page, or email us at hello@starksocial.com. This is The Social Life. I'm Deanna Miller. He is Nathan Imhoff. We are the co-founders of Stark Social Media Agency, and we will see you next time when we talk about hyper-local marketing.